Let's be real for a second. Hollywood has perfected dragons. We've got House of the Dragon making them look like literal gods. They've mastered superheroes. They've even made vampires look like runway models. But when it comes to werewolves, it's like movie studios just forget how biology works. We've gone from terrifying, bone-snapping beasts of the night to looking like CGI house cats, or worse, just a guy who really needs a shave. Today, we're asking the big question. Why is it so hard to do werewolves right? Why is the bar so low that we're still looking back at 2004 as the peak? Let's dive into the furry mess that is modern werewolf cinema. We have to start with the biggest offender, the Twilight Saga. Now, I know the lore says they are shapeshifters, not traditional children of the moon, but visually? Come on. They are just big dogs. They walk on four legs 100% of the time. They have these big, soulful, puppy dog eyes, and they spend half the movie looking like they're waiting for a treat from Bella. Where is the horror? Where is the man-beast hybrid? A werewolf is supposed to be an unnatural fusion of human and wolf, something that shouldn't exist. When you just scale up a wolf to the size of a horse, it loses all the uncanny valley creepiness. And don't even get me started on the physics. In Twilight, they look so fluffy and light. Like if you threw a tennis ball, they'd float away. It actually reminds me of the Philippine series Immortals, Lobo Immortal. They have that same shaggy dog look where the fur looks too clean, too soft. If I can imagine hugging the monster and it feeling like a warm pillow, you have failed as a horror director. A werewolf should look like it's made of matted fur, muscle, and bad intentions, not something you'd find at a pet groomer. Then we move to the Vampire Diaries and the originals. I love the lore of these shows, but the werewolves? They are a straight up disgrace. They literally just look like regular wolves you'd see in a National Geographic documentary. If I'm watching a supernatural action drama, I don't want a husky. I want a monster that's going to haunt my nightmares. But the worst part isn't even how they look, it's how weak they are. In TVD, it feels like anyone with a pocket knife or a bit of wolfsbane can take one down. They get snapped like twigs by vampires half their age. A werewolf transformation is supposed to be the ultimate I win button in a fight. It's supposed to be the moment everyone else in the room realizes they're about to die. But in these shows, they just feel like an inconvenience. They lack the mass, the height, and the sheer unstoppable force energy that makes a werewolf scary. On the other side of the spectrum, we have the Teen Wolf approach. This is the human plus design. Sideburns, pointy teeth, and maybe some yellow contacts. It worked in the 80s because they didn't have the tech, but in the modern era, it feels lazy. A werewolf transformation should look painful. I want to see the bones breaking, the snout elongating, the skin tearing. I want to see a creature that looks like it's bursting out of a human shell. When it's just a dude with a heavy brow line and some claws, the stakes just aren't there. You're not watching a monster. You're watching a guy in a chair who spent 3 hours in hair and makeup. It takes you out of the world. Now let's talk about the legends. The 2 times Hollywood actually understood the assignment. First, Van Helsing, 2004. This is the hill I will die on. This is the best werewolf design ever put to film. Why? Because it's massive. It's a bipedal beast that stands 7 or 8 feet tall, but it can drop to all fours to sprint. It has that terrifying, elongated snout and those massive, powerful shoulders. And that transformation scene where he literally peels his human skin off to reveal the black fur underneath? Peak cinema. It felt visceral. It felt heavy. Then you have Underworld. The Lycans here were biological weapons. They were lean, muscular, and had this dirty, gritty look. They weren't CGI fluff balls. They had weight. When a Lycan hit a wall in Underworld, you felt the impact. They looked like they were evolved for one thing, killing vampires. They had that perfect mix of human-like hands for grabbing and wolf-like jaws for tearing. That is how you do it. So why can't we get back to this? Is it because CGI is cheaper than practical suits? Or have studios just lost the cool factor in favor of making everything realistic and approachable? Personally, I'd take an unrealistic monster that looks terrifying over a realistic wolf any day. But I want to hear from FrameAche's finest, the comment section. Am I being too hard on the Twilight pups? Did the Immortals design actually work for you? Or is there a movie I completely missed that tops Van Helsing?
Let's settle this in the comments, because we are way overdue for a werewolf movie that actually makes us afraid of the dark again. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button. It helps us get this video in front of more people who miss real monsters. I'm FrameAche, and I'll see you in the next one.